He Lin Chuan and I were betrothed in our youth. Our hearts were united from the start. After marriage, a rift emerged due to his teacher's daughter, Gu Chaoyun. At the height of our quarrel, I cursed him as vile and disgusting, saying he'd inevitably end up sharing a bed with his master's daughter. His eyes burned crimson with hatred for me. Your inability to bear children is the ultimate betrayal. Had I known you'd be so unreasonable, I should have divorced you long ago to make room for her. After rebirth, he abandoned our bitter rivalry. He swiftly arranged for Gu Chaoyun to be married off elsewhere. He wanted to use the second chance to make things right with me. But he didn't know I had already pledged myself to another family's son. I had reborn a year before He Lin Chuan. Through my guidance, my parents had already uncovered the ambiguous relationship between He Lin Chuan and Gu Chaoyun. The matter of breaking off the engagement. Both families had secretly settled it long ago. It was just not yet announced. On this particular day, I sat with my family, brewing tea and admiring the snow. My second sister-in-law suddenly mentioned him. That he fellow, who knows what got into him, suddenly sent his teacher's daughter to live elsewhere. He even plans to have his parents formally adopt her as their goddaughter. After saying this, she shot me a glance. My second brother awkwardly scratched his nose. Both families called off the engagement. Why bring him up? I was the one who investigated his affair with that girl back then. Mother sat nearby, peeling roasted tangerines. After eating one segment, she distributed the rest. Everyone stuffed them into their mouths without warning, suddenly overwhelmed by the sourness and grimacing in pain. My second brother and sister-in-law received extra portions. Father held the remaining piece hesitantly for a moment before tossing it toward my second brother. What? Your sister doesn't regret it, but you two suddenly do? Second brother felt deeply wronged and immediately protested. Of course not. But that boy's been showing off lately. If word gets out that my sister broke off the engagement with him, it'll make our family look like we don't know a good thing when we saw it. That explanation finally sounded somewhat reasonable. Father's expression softened considerably as he instructed. His star shines too brightly now. The annulment must not be mentioned, lest outsiders question his character. At the very least, we must not tarnish his current image. After all, His Majesty holds him in high regard. We cannot dampen the Emperor's favor. From the onset of winter, He Lin Chuan began making subtle moves. First, he began patrolling various districts. Upon returning, he submitted a memorial. He argued that the people's dilapidated homes were ill-equipped to withstand disasters. Since most were resting during winter, it would be ideal to repair the houses now, preventing collapses during the coming rainy season. His Majesty readily approved, but securing funds from the Ministry of Revenue proved an agonizing ordeal. After endless wrangling, He Lin Chuan obtained only a meager sum. Undeterred, he resorted to soliciting loans from acquaintances, including our household. It was then that I realized He Lin Chuan had also been reborn. But this was a good thing. So I contributed some silver as well, though I had privately made preparations long ago. I had no intention of revealing them publicly. Too many supernatural occurrences would invite unnecessary trouble. He Lin Chuan had everything ready. By late November, days of heavy snowfall arrived. Thanks to his prior preparations, many citizens were spared hardship, and my stockpiled charcoal sold out completely. This thwarted those who'd hoped to raise prices. After the blizzard ended, numerous citizens came to thank the officials. Following this incident, He Lin Chuan became highly sought after. His Majesty took notice of him. Rumors even spread that he was a man blessed with fortune. Many openly or privately lamented his early betrothal, suggesting he deserved better prospects. Mother sighed with a complex expression, since he sent her away. He clearly knows his relationship with the Gu family's daughter is improper. To distance himself, he must first ask the other party if she agrees. It must be said, Mother was right. Gu Chaoyun would never accept her fate. In her past life, whenever things went awry, she'd drown her sorrow in hunger strikes. Or she'd resign from Heelinchuan's service, insisting on returning alone to her hometown. She always made others the villains. Her heart brimmed with grievances. Yet she said nothing. Unless Heelinchuan coaxed her. One would sulk in silence. The other would coax. That clingy, affectionate state of theirs. And yet they insisted they were pure as the driven snow, doing nothing shameful. I'd thought that after reincarnating, Heelinchuan would come find me to call off the engagement, eager to marry Gu Chaoyun. So why did he send her away? Could it be he found out I'd broken off the engagement with him? Planning to distance himself from Gu Chaoyun first. Looking for another sucker? I soon discovered the reason. He actually came to the Zhang residence searching for me. Mother could only say I was ill to send him away. Then immediately came to tell me about it. I shuddered with fear. Thank goodness I hate the cold and stayed cooped up indoors all day. If I'd been outside and run into him coming straight for me would have been a huge mess. This couldn't go on forever. Mother's tone carried clear reproach. Haven't you even told this child what's going on with Lian's mother? Have the two families already broken off the engagement? Lian's mother was Heelinchuan's mother. The engagement had been arranged precisely because his mother and my mother were close. Thinking of her, my expression darkened. She probably still wants to sway your decision. People always favor those they're close to. Before, I wouldn't have dared speak so bluntly about Mrs. He in front of my mother. She'd have scolded me for being disrespectful. But now she clearly harbors resentment. I must make her realize that Mrs. He is first and foremost Heelinchuan's mother, and only secondarily her friend. News of the broken engagement would tarnish both families' reputations. Setting aside the damage to Heelinchuan and my own names, the mere act of last-minute reneging would leave both families with the negative impression of being untrustworthy. Marriage between men and women is fundamentally an exchange of interests. More allies mean more avenues. In the imperial court, an extra voice echoing your words, or an additional channel for intelligence. Marriage alliances bring numerous benefits. The only thing irrelevant is whether Heelinchuan and I have feelings for each other. In the future, if he wants several concubines, I'd have no power to restrict his desires. He should never have entangled himself with the master's daughter, fostering ambiguity while refusing to acknowledge it. Gu Chaoyun's status is not that of a concubine. So what does he intend? To make her an equal wife? An unexpected individual has emerged, poised to claim resources rightfully mine. How could my parents remain passive? Remember, titles and wealth. Only the direct line inherits the lion's share. I carefully studied Mother's expression before continuing. Perhaps next time someone asks. Mother could say the two children were betrothed too young, knowing nothing. That I insisted Heelinchuan, whom I'd known since childhood, was no different from a brother. There was simply no crossing that line. At first glance, this seemed like a disadvantage. It makes me seem strange and willful. Mother pondered briefly, then suddenly laughed aloud. You're digging a pit for both of them. As his fiancé, I feel Heelinchuan is like a brother to me. Gu Chaoyun, who lives in Heelinchuan's household, has instead become entangled with him. I said meaningfully, she wants to marry him. This will inevitably come to light. When that time comes, the threads Mother planted will naturally be pulled. A flicker of anger crossed Mother's face. I understand your meaning. As a mother, I know my own children best. She refuses to admit her son is at fault, scheming to have his cake and eat it too. How could I possibly swallow this humiliation? Heelinchuan and Gu Chaoyun were growing close. Mrs. He knew this long ago. But what mother would resent her son being popular? After all, it wasn't her son suffering the consequences. As I pondered how to give Gu Chaoyun a nudge, Mother drew close to me and wrapped her arm around my shoulder. It's my fault for not choosing better partners back then. causing you such heartache. I leaned into her shoulder. Even a dog has its own mind, let alone a human. Discovering this before marriage is actually a blessing. I thought comforting her this way would cheer her up. But instead of feeling relieved, she looked at me with worry. Tell me, Mother, did you suspect all along that he was secretly close with Gu Chaoyun? Did you think the family wouldn't agree to break the engagement? So you never dared speak up? Her gentle eyes were filled with heartache for me. My heart trembled slightly. So my family had noticed my changes all along. Of course not, I replied. He never mentioned Gu Chaoyun when we spoke. All these years, I only knew there was someone like that in his family. Precisely because he never did. We all subconsciously overlooked her. Even my family trusted He Lin Chuan implicitly. Everyone admired his kindness for taking in his teacher's daughter, never suspecting he might overstep. Mother just felt you seemed unusually mature lately. She gave my head a light pat, as if you've been through so much. Sometimes watching you from afar, you always look so lonely. Many sorrows become bearable with time. But I cannot bear others' concern. A decade's worth of bitterness surged in an instant. My throat clogged, unable to utter a sound. These days of torment have lasted far too long. I wanted to say I died before 30. To say they met no better end. But the words stopped at my lips. Just like years ago, when I cried out wanting to go home. But Mother replied, if you come back. What about your sister's marriage? Later it became, you can't have children. Remarrying means raising someone else's kids. Marrying a man 20 years older than you. Smelling that musty old man scent, would that make you happy? Back then, I broke down so badly I lost my hair. I always felt no one could understand my pain. Yet she had a point. For women, marriage is a gamble. I cried out in agony, I never want to marry again. That single sentence enraged her into a tirade. Even if you shave your head and become a nun, without support, you'll still be mistreated. Marriage is your only way out. Thinking back, bitterness wells up in my mouth. I feigned lightheartedness, teasing my mother. Oh, no. Your daughter was just thinking, if I marry into a family without knowing them, how much hardship would I endure? Just thinking about it makes my heart ache. And I can't help but feel down. Mother sighed helplessly, you just overthink everything. I'd heard those words countless times. In the past, I'd resented such labels, inevitably frowning in anger. Now I could just smile it off. Then I turned to look at her and smiled. Thank goodness Mother was here to decide for me, otherwise I truly would have been weeping constantly. I've known disappointment in my family, and I've known understanding, until the very end. After my repeated questioning, the maid Xishuan collapsed sobbing on the bedside, clutching my hand and saying, Fourth mother has gone into labor. The old lady couldn't bear to leave her alone, so she went personally to oversee things. She probably won't be back until tomorrow. My dear, please wait a little longer. Just a little longer. Okay? In that moment, I realized with crystal clarity. I wasn't my parents' only child, but they were my only parents. So it was inevitable I placed excessive expectations on them. As for trying to understand their difficulties, it was utterly unnecessary. Especially when I was in trouble. Trying to understand them only brought double the pain without equal reciprocation. Before I knew it, the day of my eldest sister's child's first birthday ceremony arrived. Mother had gone to stay a couple days early. My brother and his wife brought me along that day. The two families were in-laws. We younger generations were all quite close. Upon arrival, I dismissed the maidservants and wandered off to the back by myself. Qin Wenshu beamed when she saw me and called over her younger sister. Qin Wenjing, I hear you talk about Minju all the time. Well, here she is now. You two don't need to wait here, go play. Qin Wenjing had been fidgeting impatiently. She grabbed my arm and said, Come on, Let's go. Before anyone else arrives. My second sister will start making arrangements. I hurried after her. I heard Sister Wenshu call softly from behind. Slow down. Once we were far enough away, Chen Wenjing slowed her pace, hooked her arm through mine, and leaned close to whisper. Did you really break off the engagement with the He family? Yeah. I nodded. Like I'd lie about this. Chen Wenjing frowned. Yesterday, my mom blurted out asking if you're getting married next year. Your mom said you've known He Linchuan so long you treat him like your own brother. She feels weird about you marrying him and says you threw a fit refusing to honor the engagement. She scrutinized me from head to toe, even reaching out to touch my forehead. Others might not know, but I certainly do. You were so eager to marry him, why the sudden breakup? Life's major shifts. Family and friends would worry about me first. But pure affection. Seems it only lasts until the wedding day. I once thought my parents didn't understand me. Friends should understand me best. When He Linchuan and I were at each other's throats, he brought in many mediators. Among them was Chen Wenjing. After talking at length to no avail, she grew irritated. He sought me out, proof he still cares. Feelings fade through constant quarrels. Keep this up, and you'll only push him toward Gu Chaoyun. Tears streaming down my face. I told her I never intended to make things difficult for her. But through all our conflicts, big and small, he never once stood up for me or believed me. If they're so perfectly suited, why bring me, an outsider, into this suffering? The unconditional trust of childhood sweethearts. It vanished the moment he met Gu Chaoyun. The tacit understanding between him and me shifted entirely to their every word and action. Because they, too, were childhood sweethearts. He defended her from the depths of his heart. What I heard most often was, she's not that kind of person. Losing her family was tragic enough. Why must you target her? It began with mere oversights and arrangements. I couldn't even tell if it was the servant's fault or Gu Chaoyun's deliberate scheming, yet I ended up looking like a harsh mistress. Or perhaps Gu Chaoyun had long told He Linchuan, now that Zhang Minzhu has married in. Should I avoid her? Might she be displeased seeing me? Even before I entered the household, she regarded me as an enemy, planting trap after trap to drive a wedge between He Linchuan and me. Trust crumbled, and we began attacking each other like madmen. Even when he invited Chen Wenjing to persuade me, it was because he'd done her husband a favor when he brought my parents to pressure me. It was to make me realize there was no turning back. When he hated me, he used every trick to force me to submit. All those past events, only I know them. Under Chen Wenjing's probing gaze, I countered her puzzled look. The more I've observed He Linchuan these past years, the more he reminds me of my second brother. If you know anyone who fancies him, they'd better hurry, before he commits to someone else. Chen Wenjing pressed her lips together awkwardly. What about me? If that person were me, would you be angry? I laughed abruptly. Under her timid, evasive gaze, I said lightly, I don't care who he marries. But let's be clear, if things don't work out later, don't blame me. After all, I've never lived with him. I have no idea what he'd be like as a husband. After all, in my past life, she'd urged me so passionately. Maybe she doesn't mind He Linchuan's issues? Maybe they'd be happy together? As we spoke, a man's voice suddenly came from behind. Someone's voice abruptly halted. Another cried out joyfully, Minzhu. I turned toward the sound. Jiang Shui trotted over, affectionately linking her arm through mine. Surprised? I held off writing you for so long just for this moment. Her appearance truly took me by surprise. In my past life, I never made it to my eldest sister's child's first birthday celebration. How could she suddenly appear before me now? Could there be others who had reincarnated? My heart, startled into a frantic beat, hadn't yet calmed. A clear, resonant voice followed, Little Minzhu, It's been so long. My hand, hanging at my side, trembled violently. The Jiang family elders were close with my uncle. When I visited my maternal grandparents' home, the children from my uncle's family and the Jiang family would take me everywhere to play. Only Jiang Yuxing was always busy with his studies and rarely joined our games. I would often bring little trinkets back for him. It wasn't for any reason, just a child's fondness for colors. I simply thought this older brother was handsome and gentle, so I always wanted to sneak a few extra glances at him. Plus, he seemed a bit unhappy. I wanted to cheer him up. When I was 10, I accidentally witnessed him being punished. His father had just disciplined him, and immediately afterward, he beat his father's concubine-born son mercilessly. Jiang Yuxing, a smile on his face, stepped on his half-brother's hand and growled, "Tell your concubine mother, if this happens again, I'll have you chopped up and fed to the dogs." Blinded by rage, he hadn't noticed me trailing behind him. When he turned, he saw terror frozen on my face. After that, I never dared seek him out again. If we crossed paths, I'd lower my head, exchange a few hurried words, and flee. If it had ended there, it might have been bearable. Growing up, I finally understood his plight. His mother died young. At home, his stepmother treated him with cruelty. His most unstable period coincided with the year his grandmother passed away. The worst part was his inexplicable obsession with me. Later, he learned of my conflict with He Linchuan. He orchestrated chance encounters when I went out, tempting me to betray He Linchuan and have an affair with him. The shame and fury I felt upon hearing those words remain unforgettable to this day. Now, seeing him suddenly, I couldn't very well give him a cold shoulder. So I feigned warmth and asked, "When did you arrive?" "Just yesterday." I'd be grateful if Sister Minju could show Shuer around. She's never been to Yangqing before and isn't familiar with the area. Certainly. I thought we could wrap up the pleasantries quickly. But then came a thunderous accusation. "Zhang Minju, what do you think you're doing? Why did you call off the engagement with my brother for no reason?" He Qiu, He Linchuan's sister, stormed toward me in fury. This was the path leading to the inner courtyard. Hearing the commotion, many female guests immediately turned back. I smiled with my usual patience. "Look at you. Still angry? We've known each other for over a decade. Even if I can't be your sister-in-law, doesn't that still make us sisters?" He Qiu's expression faltered. But she pressed on relentlessly. "So what's the real reason? You must give me a proper explanation. Otherwise, people outside will gossip about my brother." This. I glanced around hesitantly, then could only explain helplessly, "It's because we're too familiar. Whenever I see your brother, it's like seeing my own brother. I often feel a chill down my spine, afraid I'll get scolded." That much was true. Before I married He Linchuan, I was sensitive and fiercely principled. Hearing unjust words, I'd inevitably argue with people. Because of this, my family often scolded me for being too stubborn. When He Linchuan happened upon such situations, he'd first shield me from those who resorted to violence when they couldn't win an argument. Then he'd raise his hand and smack my head, as if disciplining me for others to see. Outsiders, upon witnessing this, would instead think he doted on me. Back then, Gu Chaoyun exploited my temperament. He sowed countless seeds of discord between He Linchuan and me. Now, his past acts of protection have become the very issues I cite. They've also become evidence of his disciplining me in public. He Qiu stared in disbelief. "Because of this, you want to break off the engagement with my brother?" He Linchuan appeared beside us unnoticed. "What engagement?" Seeing him arrive, I breathed a sigh of relief. "Brother He, you should know, we dissolved the engagement half a year ago. Aunt worried it might affect my reputation, so she suggested delaying the announcement." The moment our eyes met, he froze. Everything became clear. He must have finally realized I had returned before him. He responded with unhidden regret, explaining to me, "Mother thought you were young and feared it was just a momentary lapse of judgment. So she didn't publicize it." The matter was thus swept under the rug. As long as he didn't want the scandal to damage his reputation, he would never pursue this further. Besides, he must have known I wouldn't return. In my past life, we'd caused too much embarrassment. His attempt to make amends depended on me knowing nothing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so desperate to see me, to find out if I was still that Zhang Minju who trusted him wholeheartedly. As our group dispersed, the onlookers scattered of their own accord. Right now, He Lin Chuan was basking in glory, learning I'd insisted on dissolving our engagement half a year ago. Others would only laugh at my bad luck. That suited me just fine. Though I'd rejected his proposal, his reputation remained untarnished. As long as it didn't tarnish his current image, the emperor could still employ him without hindrance. Besides, He Chiu had started the commotion. The already uneasy He family dared not slander me. Instead, they lamented to others how unfortunate it was that the marriage didn't work out. After all, the reason Gu Chaoyun and I broke off the engagement was because of Gu Chaoyun. If we really got into a fight, it would only end in mutual destruction. With a bit of a stir caused, it wasn't wise for me to go out, lest someone seek me out to get to the bottom of things. So I simply went to my little nephew's room to play with him. My eldest sister watched me with concern. "I've heard all the commotion outside. Are you all right?" I was busy making my little nephew laugh nonstop. Hearing her, I shrugged it off. Nothing to worry about. I'd long anticipated this day. She didn't know how much groundwork I'd laid to achieve this outcome. How much groundwork I'd laid. The current situation was already the best possible outcome. Seeing my sister-in-law still uneasy, I said, "They'll only gossip for a while. New scandals come and go, ours is nothing special." She sighed deeply. "I just don't know what your brother-in-law is thinking, wanting Wenjing to marry into the He family." Hearing this, I paused, handing my nephew to the nanny beside me. "Sister, don't come to me for answers. If they want to marry their daughter off, let them investigate the He family themselves. What concerns me may not concern them." I leaned back on the nearby recliner and reminded her, "Sister, you've finally given birth to a son. Your top priority is caring for your little nephew. Let them handle the rest. Why burden yourself with this worry?" Before my eldest sister could protest, I frowned and pressed on, "What if she suffers later? She might not dare blame her own mother, but she could turn her resentment on you." This left my sister utterly speechless. Still, she couldn't resist muttering, "Your nature is just too ruthless." I laughed in exasperation and stood up from the chair. If I were ruthless, why would I be here sharing these heartfelt words with you? I should have just nodded and hummed my way through it. Her words cut deep. "From now on, I'll never play the know-it-all again." My sister sighed. "So I can't even say a few words to you anymore?" "Huh?" I flung my hand and stormed out the door. The wind hit me at the doorway. My head suddenly cleared. I shouldn't have lectured her from on high just because I knew everything. She genuinely wanted what was best for Qin Wenjing. There was no fault in that. In my past life, it was she who arranged Qin Wenjing's marriage. The man was her close friend's younger brother, steady and reliable, but slow to advance in his career. He didn't match Qin Wenjing's preferences, and friction simmered between them. Resentment festered within her, and every time she returned to her parents' home, she'd take a dig at my sister. My sister would recount these visits, often filled with regret. I kicked the doorframe behind me, snapping my sister out of her reverie. She turned to me awkwardly and demanded, "Aren't you usually so good at soothing Minhui? Why won't you soothe me when it comes to me?" My sister burst out laughing. I'll soothe you right now. She came over and hugged me. You're right. Major life decisions aren't something to meddle in too much. My little sister truly cares about me more. I smiled demurely. You bet. Yet this polite coexistence didn't lift my spirits, because I knew my eldest sister would always side with my brother-in-law's family. From the day she married, she became part of the Chin family. This bond would only grow stronger, just as my mother had become the mother of the Zhang children. The first birthday banquet concluded. Mother began preparing to arrange a match for me. Minhui wasn't pleased. In such a stormy time, how could we find a suitable match? Who knows if onlookers might sneak in? Flipping through the portraits in my hands, I unexpectedly spotted Qin Wenjing's husband from my past life. Perfect, we could weed them out and minimize contact henceforth. Exactly. Mother stated plainly, troubled times reveal people's true colors. Setting down the portraits, I suddenly remarked, but I don't much care for this. Mother's expression paused. I'll have people watch over you. They won't dare act out. Minhui glanced between me and mother, then tactfully amended. Third sister. Rest assured. Mother would never let anyone bully you. I didn't press the matter further. Decisions mother made were usually final. After much deliberation, she selected the second son of the Qing'an Marquis. An arranged meeting was set. Among so many candidates, his status wasn't the highest. If memory serves, he ranked second. Higher in status was the Crown Prince of Yu. Mother had inquired. The second son of the Shin family possessed a gentle temperament and handled himself with propriety. Given your somewhat stubborn nature, a more placid future husband would be ideal. To confirm both families' willingness, the Shin family first sent Shinko to deliver gifts to my father. After interacting with him, father praised him highly. This young man possessed solid learning yet remained humble. Mother inquired about the health of his elders. He answered with remarkable poise. He even discussed health preservation methods with my mother. He truly lived up to the matchmaker's description of being articulate and insightful. 2 days later, the Shin family sent an invitation as a trial. If mother was satisfied, she would take me and Minhui to the banquet. If not, we wouldn't go. But mother not only brought me and Minhui, she also prepared generous gifts. I understood clearly. Today's meeting was the final assessment. First, the Shin elders wanted to see me. Second, to let Shinku exchange a few words with me. Everything proceeded smoothly. The matriarch of the Shin family didn't send Shinku directly. Instead, she had Shinku's younger sister take me for a walk. As we rounded the corridor, the scenery opened up before us. But when I saw the stone path across the lake, a memory from my past life at the Peach Blossom Hermitage suddenly surfaced. Back then, I went to Peach Blossom Hermitage to light an eternal lamp. While making a wish, I asked others to step aside, but weakened by my recent fall into the water, I fainted mid-prayer. When I awoke, Master Mingxin told me it was the lamp keeper, Master Huiyan, who had saved me. I wished to thank him personally, but Master Mingxin said Master Huiyan never saw visitors. She told me Huiyan was also a pitiable soul. She had once been a young lady from a distinguished family. When she reached marriageable age, she encountered a beast with a heart full of deceit. On the day of their meeting, she was pushed into the lake. He ordered his servants to jump in and rescue her, only to verbally humiliate her afterward. That man took pleasure in destroying a woman's reputation. Huiyan, unable to bear it, reported him. But the man had a good reputation, and everyone said Huiyan was desperate to marry and was using tricks. She couldn't pin anything on him, so she went mad. The Shin family's younger sister walking ahead looked puzzled. Sister Minju. What's wrong? I snapped out of my recollection. I felt I was really overthinking things. I smiled at her. Nothing. Where are we going? She smiled back. Everyone's fishing up ahead. I'll take you to see them. But she herself didn't notice. In that instant of shared laughter, she made an incredibly subtle movement. It was a blink after staring at me for a long moment, and the sinking of her shoulders as she exhaled slowly, her breath lowering her shoulders. My hair stood on end instantly, and I became alert. Once I noticed, her subtle shifts played out in slow motion before my eyes, becoming unnervingly clear. She walked ahead, never glancing back at me like other guides would. Instead, she seemed to avoid facing me, keeping her back turned the entire time. I didn't want to gamble. Following behind me were not only Zhishuan and Minhui, but also a low-headed, unfamiliar maid. Logically, I could have sent them ahead, to bypass this part. But mother was pleased with Shinku. Shinku had an excellent reputation. No need to guess, she wouldn't believe me. She might even look at me with disappointment. Then say, "You're just overthinking things." My heart burned with anxiety, and I unconsciously scanned the surroundings. Your family's garden is truly lovely. A thought suddenly popped into my mind. Perfect, no one else around. In the blink of an eye, my hand acted faster than my thoughts. I suddenly spun around, grabbed the maid approaching me, and flung her hard. Splash! I shoved her straight into the lake. No sooner had someone fallen in here than someone nearby leapt into the water without hesitation, 2 splashes in quick succession. Perfect! Seems I guessed right. The Shin family was indeed the scourge of Huiyin in my past life. The Shin family's daughter stared in shock at the lake. I lifted my skirt and kicked her in as well. Soon, both of them were pulled out, but not on this side of the stone path. They were taken to another spot. I lifted my skirt and hurried over. Quite a crowd had gathered. People huddled together, whispering and pointing and gesturing at the drowned people. I scanned the 4 drowned figures. The moment I recognized one of them as Lin Chuan, I laughed. How absurd. Never imagined he'd be the other one who jumped in. Who did he think had fallen into the water? And what did he hope to gain by pretending to rescue someone? Shinku's eyes blazed with fury. Spotting us, she turned and demanded harshly, "Miss Zhang, why did you push my sister?" I looked utterly bewildered. This is my first meeting with the Shin family's daughter. We've no past grievances, no recent enmity. Why would I push her into the water? Clearly, the commotion of that maid falling in startled her. Min Hui reacted swiftly, pointing at the drenched servant. Your household is peculiar indeed. How could you possibly see the other side from here? How did you know someone had fallen in? Realizing the truth was about to be exposed, Shinku scrambled to justify herself. Naturally, I heard the commotion and sensed something amiss. It seems this was all a misunderstanding. Zishuan was a beat slower to catch on, but when she finally did, her face flushed crimson with fury. She rushed over, tugging at my sleeve and shouting, "Miss, we must leave at once." They were clearly lying in wait here. Hearing the commotion, they jumped into the water. Who knows what the Shin family intended? Did they plan to push my young mistress in only to fall themselves? Shinku, seeing the situation turn against him, strode forward to block my path. I shouted angrily, "Don't come near me, you lecher." A woman's struggle and panic only excites a man further. In the chaos, I yanked out my hairpin, drew the hidden blade concealed within, and plunged it into Shinku's arm. With a sharp flick upward, I wrenched it free. Ah! My arm! Never had I been so acutely aware of my own actions. The moment blood spurted forth, the horrified screams of bystanders rang in my ears. The words of Master Mingxin floated once more through my mind. Had this nun not entered the Buddhist order, she would surely be a demonic fiend. To this nun's eyes, many people resemble pigs awaiting slaughter. It's shameful to admit, but my family once ran a butcher shop. When the knife pierced the pig, we'd flick it sideways to slit the artery, ensuring the blood drained cleanly. Sometimes I feel certain people are just like those pigs, their flesh would likely stink even when cooked. I have no regrets. The Buddha cannot save me. But the knife can. After doing all this, I grabbed Minhui and Xishuan and ran back. We sprinted all the way. Before we even entered the door, I cried out in a loud voice, "Mother! Save me!" Mother turned her head and saw my state. She was instantly terrified. "What happened? Where are you hurt?" Even the women accompanying her grew alarmed. "Shinku tried to harm me," I sobbed as I recounted the events. She immediately ordered her attendants to shield me as we left. Then commanded, "Minhui, go fetch your father." Minhui nodded and led her personal maid out ahead of us. I held onto Xishuan's trembling arm and glanced back. "Over there." Mother, unable to contain her rage, picked up a cup and hurled it at the Shin family, leaving a threat, "This won't end today." I squeezed Xishuan's hand and fainted. Xishuan burst into tears, "Miss, don't scare me like that." The commotion suddenly grew louder. Back at home, I methodically described who was present, who might be involved, and who could potentially help. After listening, Father patted my shoulder reassuringly, "It's fine. Rest well. Don't dwell on it." Then he motioned for Minhui to accompany him. I stared blankly at their receding figures. Xishuan entered carrying hot water. A warm cloth wiped my face, snapping me out of my daze. I murmured, "I have no idea what will happen next." As Xishuan wiped my face, she began to cry herself, "Whatever it is, I'll face it with you, young lady." I washed my hands in the warm water, smiling more brightly than ever. "Then come with me to Peach Blossom Hermitage and become a nun. I've even chosen our Dharma names. I'll be Huining, and you'll be Huizhu." Though I said this, I couldn't bear the thought of her suffering alongside me. I packed everything carefully. Just as Xishuan reached for the blood-stained hairpin, I stopped her. "You don't need to take this." The moment she turned to look at me, tears fell unexpectedly, splashing onto the calm lake of my heart. So hot they made me want to cry too. She said, "Young lady, don't be afraid. We're home now." I blinked, uneasily replying, "Keeping it would give me peace of mind." In the end, the hairpin didn't go with us. When Xishuan returned, I was still sitting there, lost in thought. She urged me to rest, but the sword hanging over my head hadn't fallen. How could I possibly sleep? I waited until nightfall. When Father and Mother finally returned, Mother hurried over. The moment our eyes met, my heart leapt uncontrollably into my throat, nervously tugging at my skirt. I stammered, "Mother, I've caused trouble." She rushed to embrace me, whispering softly, "It's all right. It's all right. What wrong have you done? Everyone saw it. He refused to let you leave. They all know they brought this upon themselves." I huddled helplessly in her embrace, soaking in the gentle warmth as she recounted what happened after I left. Many young people stood up for me. Anyone with half a brain who was on Shinku's side knew it was safer to distance themselves by kicking him while he was down than risk defending a villain. No one wanted to be tainted. The way to distance themselves from the stain was to join the chorus condemning Shinku. But I had injured someone. I pointed to the hairpin on the tray. This pin was specially crafted. I bought it for self-defense. It's razor sharp. I deliberately severed his tendons. Mother gritted her teeth, seething. "Well done. I'd have slaughtered him myself." Tomorrow your father will petition the imperial court, accusing the Marquis of Qing'an of failing to discipline his son and condoning his attempt to harm a young girl. You hold the moral high ground in this matter. The Shin family could run themselves ragged trying to protect Shinku, but they won't succeed. Events unfolded exactly as Mother predicted. The outcome was clear the very next day. The Marquis of Qingyan was stripped of his duties, and Shen Ke was permanently barred from official service. The Shen family sent Shen Ke far away, sparing his life. Mother combed my hair herself. Our Zhang family doesn't start trouble. But we don't fear it either. He deliberately defamed a woman's honor, trying to ruin your reputation. This act has incensed everyone. Every family has children. It wasn't just your father who reported him. Everyone present was furious. If it hadn't been you yesterday, it would have been someone else. Whose daughter would it have been then? Naturally, it would have been the daughter of someone close to the Shen family. As I listened to her words, my thoughts drifted unconsciously. I used to believe my family disliked me because of my personality. Now I realize, perhaps that wasn't the case. After my eldest sister married, she returned home more than once to ask our parents for help with matters concerning her husband's career. Though my parents found her bothersome, they never ignored her. My second brother was said to be the pillar of the family. In truth, his temperament was unstable, loud and impulsive. Parents often scold him, yet they still guide him. My youngest sister is spoiled, needing constant attention, and consequently receives the whole family's support. Only I, seemingly knowledgeable, actually only see the shallow surface of issues. It often takes me a long time to realize that beneath those past events lay deeper, more complex problems. I always thought my parents blamed me for quarreling with Gu Chaoyun, that I had pushed He Linchuan into Gu Chaoyun's arms. But now, it dawned on me. They blamed me for noticing something was wrong but not making a scene immediately. My momentary restraint only encouraged He Linchuan and Gu Chaoyun's growing closeness. Yet I couldn't keep holding back forever. By the time the two families became deeply entangled, Gu Chaoyun and He Linchuan used underhanded tactics to deceive everyone, making their position appear increasingly justified. By the time I made a scene, the Zhang family had already lost the initiative. Thinking of all this, I could no longer hold back and burst into loud sobs. It turns out I had the chance to divorce, but I was afraid of being gossiped about. A moment's hesitation led to the opportunity being lost forever. Ah, what's wrong? Why are you crying? My second brother's urgent voice came from outside. My sister-in-law gave him a slap. Shut up. Min Hui pushed the door open decisively. Sister, are you okay? Mother sighed in relief, hugging me comfortingly. Crying is good. It's Mother who's failed you. Her own eyes welled up as she spoke. I clung tightly to her. What does Mother have to do with that villain's evil deeds? He played the part so well. Everyone praised him. How could we have known? Without me, there would still be Huiyan. Even before the incident, I thought the Shen family was decent. In my past life, even Master Mingxin only mentioned the matter without naming names. Evidently, the truth never spread. Such filth! He pretended to be a good man for so long. You're just too well-behaved. Mother's tears soaked my neck. I never knew how to raise you. Your eldest sister was the master of feigning ignorance. I never worried she'd get hurt. Your younger sister was mischievous from the start. One moment of inattention and she'd cause trouble. You were always so obedient. By the time I realized it, we'd grown distant. Her words caught me off guard. But this time, I understood her meaning. She hoped I wouldn't be so well-behaved. Without any edge, you'll only get bullied. I broke into a smile through my tears. What well-behaved child stabs someone with a knife? Mother tightened her embrace around me. She seemed genuinely frightened by the incident. I regretted bringing up the knife. This was an unspoken understanding between us. Why carry such a deadly weapon when things were peaceful? And why know how to sever tendons? Fortunately, Min Hui squeezed closer to me, pouting. I was scared out of my wits. Mother, comfort me too. Thankfully, Mother didn't press the matter. What's done is done. Dwelling on past actions serves no purpose. When we met again, 2 months had passed. Because of the incident where I injured someone with a knife, the number of invitations had dwindled significantly. But several new candidates had also appeared. The original invitations had been thoroughly screened. Father, based on information he'd gathered, kept 3 names. Among them were Jiang Yuxing from the Jiang family, Gu Fei, Chen Wenjing's husband in her previous life, and Lu Ming, the crown prince of Yu. After the incident with Shinku, Mother became much more open with me. She picked up Jiang Yuxing's invitation and began explaining to me. Because of your uncle, Mother knows quite a bit about the Jiang family. Yuxing himself is quite good. But unfortunately, his father is clueless. Such a fine young man still doesn't know how to take care of himself. When I saw him recently, he appeared dignified and handsome, but his posture was too rigid, a sign he never allows himself to relax. She set it down with a hint of regret. Marriage isn't just about being with one man, it's about living with his entire family. If someone in the household can't see clearly, it will bring you a lifetime of troubles. I never once considered him. Let's not dwell on the absurdities of past lives. I do understand him somewhat. His mother and grandmother passed away one after the other, and his father's oppressive nature fostered his overly sensitive disposition. Interacting with him feels like approaching someone riddled with wounds. One careless word could strike a nerve. Mother nodded. That's the truth of it. Likewise, Gu Fei is no good either. He once had designs on the Qin family's daughter. But alas, when Jing's parents set their sights on He Linchuan not long ago, I heard he jumped into the water to save a Qin family maid. At this point, Mother let out a sharp, unmistakable cold laugh when Jing's parents thought he still harbored feelings for you. So they ultimately gave up. Which means the Gu family sent an invitation. Perhaps it wasn't entirely in Gu Fei's own interest. In their past lives, the 2 of them, it was a case of one willing to strike, the other willing to endure. Facing the invitation from the Crown Prince of Yu, Mother was unusually puzzled. I wonder what's going on with that family. Sending invitations twice now. Go find out what's happening and report back to me. She clearly wanted to know the full story. I couldn't help but smile inwardly. Why would a royal heir need to go to such lengths to seek a marriage? There were plenty willing to throw themselves at him, hoping to be chosen. There must be something wrong. With this thought in mind, I finally met Lu Ming. The moment I saw him, I couldn't help but look several times more. He noticed my gaze and suppressed a smile. Is the chess game a bit boring? I shook my head. No. I'm just a bit surprised. Before coming, I asked around, and many friends said the Crown Prince seemed rather cold. Yet he appeared quite easy to get along with. Pretending to be aloof avoids trouble. But I'm not like that at home. He placed a piece on the board. Seeing I didn't continue speaking, he took the initiative to explain the reason for the marriage proposal. We've actually known each other for a long time. This remark made me look at him twice more. When I clearly saw the mole on his bridge of the nose, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. As vague memories from the past overlapped with the present, I opened my mouth in astonishment. He nodded. Yes. I'm the one who dragged you into that mud pit. I remembered now. It was also when we were 10. A guest at the Jiang household played with us. Everyone called him Young Master Qin. Aren't you a Qin? I distinctly recall him playing wildly, always seeming joyful. He jumped into the river to splash around, but the water was shallow and muddy. Seeing how fastidious I was, he scorned their mud-covered bodies. So he just dragged me in too. My maternal family is surnamed Qin. He pounced on the wrong move I made while distracted. When traveling outside, people usually go by aliases. I let out an involuntary sigh. I didn't even notice. He handed me the few pieces he picked up. I've always liked you. Such directness was unprecedented. I froze in place. He explained, but my parents said I was too young and unpredictable. and my preferences might influence you. That's why I never got too close." As he spoke, he pushed the pieces closer to me. Now, I'm no longer a child. The implication was clear, he still liked me. My cheeks flushed. "Why would you like me? I'm not special." Though my tone was doubtful, I opened my hands to take them. One black piece after another, still warm from his hands, conveyed his nervousness. He averted his gaze, unable to meet mine. "Sometimes you're like the sun, sometimes like the moon." I was speechless. "Unpredictable?" Ahem. He cleared his throat several times, unable to suppress the smile tugging at his lips. "Whether sun or moon, both describe beautiful things." Before leaving, he said solemnly, "You might not realize it, but what you see as flaws are actually strengths. You think you lack radiance, yet you've illuminated others without knowing it." Until Jiang Yuxing came looking for me. He asked me, "Can you give me a chance?" Surprisingly, he hadn't intercepted me on the way. Instead, he'd gone to plead with my parents, pledged for an opportunity to meet. Given that, I was willing to be courteous toward him. Regarding his whispered plea, I hesitated, then shook my head. "Brother Yuxing, there's one thing I've always regretted. I shouldn't have avoided you back then. What you did wasn't your fault." I always knew he was handsome. When he looked at me with those sorrowful eyes, it was hard not to be moved. But I knew clearly, it was admiration. I chose my words carefully to refuse. "I might have knocked on your window for a moment, but I never intended to break through it to save you." He seemed unable to bear it. I could faintly see the faint redness in his eyes. Even so, he spoke of everything that happened back then. Grandmother had passed away, and I was heartbroken. Everyone knew my support had crumbled. One by one, they distanced themselves from me. Only you kept caring for me. You wouldn't ignore me like the others. But I scared you away. His throat tightened. If only. I cut him off. No ifs. And no what ifs. I met his gaze. Unflinching. "I can't save anyone, but I hope you'll open your own doors and windows to walk out. Pull that steel needle from your body, and distance yourself from those who don't treat you well. Your life is still long. If you live each day earnestly, one day your happy memories will outnumber the sad ones." I'd never seen a man cry. He was the first. Tears held back for so long trailed down his face. I felt a vague sense of melancholy, though I couldn't say why. But I knew this clearly. In truth, he and I were the same kind of person. Once, there was a steel needle inside my body too. It made me doubt myself constantly. Only I knew how profoundly that needle affected me. Every single decision I made was influenced by it. I always thought of myself as well-behaved and sensible, never needing the kind of supervision my sister did. But I didn't realize that kind of watchfulness was actually a form of care. Because of that absence, I often felt lacking in confidence. Everything that happened later only made me more miserable. So I began burying a steel needle in my heart, living with increasing caution. The less I could be honest with myself, the narrower my path became. When you're in pain, even the sky feels constricted. Because my world had long since grown dim and lightless. I told him, "When you crave others' love, you must first love yourself." How long has it been since you truly savored a delicious meal? Since you freely chose what to wear? Jiang Yuxing couldn't hold back any longer and wept uncontrollably. The dark clouds hanging over his head seemed to dissipate considerably. Suddenly, I understood the meaning behind Lu Ming's words. Flaws can also be strengths. Big sister often pleaded with mom and dad on behalf of her husband. Because she was soft-hearted, not just toward her husband, but toward us as well. Knowing her softness, everyone treated her with gentleness too. Second brother was loud and boisterous, speaking his mind bluntly. So everyone spoke their minds to him too. Youngest sister Minhui had a fiery temper and was spoiled. She'd explode at the slightest provocation. But she never held grudges or harbored resentment. Plus, she knew how to soften her words, making people feel tender toward her. My mind was sensitive, so I could notice someone silently weeping in the corners others overlooked. In Lu Ming's eyes, I was both sun and moon, radiant with light. This felt beyond ordinary affection. I married Lu Ming. Only after marriage did I realize he wasn't flawless. No dashing gentleman. No refined elegance. He'd curse his political rivals at home. Outside, he put on a fierce, cold front. When our first child was born, he worried, "I hope Jihui turns out more like you. Don't let her be anything like me as a child. What difference would that be from a wild monkey?" Yet he was dependable, capable of handling many matters. Though we did argue. But I felt reassured. He couldn't bring himself to say hurtful things to me. So I couldn't bear to make him truly angry either. He never put on airs in front of me. Nor was he overly cautious. I still remember when Keiho was born. He came to me, holding our daughter. His eyes read, "Minju." I answered weakly. Anyone else would have known I needed rest. After a moment, I heard him call out again, worried. I almost laughed in exasperation. He was worried I might die. It was as if he knew instinctively how to care for others. This kind of quiet affection. Exactly what I needed. His presence permeated every corner of our life. I knew when he tended flowers. His heart was heavy. He understood my occasional, uncontrollable sarcasm wasn't genuine. I helped him release his emotions in my own way. He taught me that saying sorry wasn't something to be ashamed of. The next time I saw He Linchuan, it was 5 years later. After the incident with the Shin family, the He family sent him out to gain experience too. But even knowing so much from his past life, he seized the initiative yet still failed to handle things well. The Water Conservancy project nearly fell apart under his watch. Fortunately, he brought along the person who had saved the day in his previous life. He finally understood. Some things must be entrusted to those who specialize in them. Because the approach changes with the times. Nothing remains constant. Not even people. That's why he looked so startled the moment he saw me. It was the kind of surprise you feel when a familiar face has changed dramatically. Fortunately, Jiahui's arrival broke the silence. That little brat really had turned into a wild monkey. Min Hui, though of marriageable age, remained as lively as ever, chasing after her and calling out, "Hey, Jiahui, don't run so fast, your auntie can't keep up." Jiahui. He Linchuan was utterly shocked. He looked at me in panic, so I bent down and scooped up Jiahui, who was dodging left and right. "Stop teasing your aunt." It seemed he knew about the memorial tablet kept before the eternal lamp at Peach Blossom Hermitage. He and I once had a child. Before we even knew its gender. It drowned with me. I named him Jiahi. Those blessed by fortune should not enter the door of the unblessed. It's for the best that he's gone. I pray he reincarnates soon. May he live a good life. I drugged He Linchuan, so he could never have children. It wasn't that I couldn't bear children. It was that he couldn't. My hatred for him never ceased. So after the Shin family incident, I had people spread rumors that He Linchuan and Shinku were close. That Shinku ruined my reputation for the sake of his good brother. This made no woman dare marry him. In the end, he had to take Gu Chaoyun as his wife. I hear Gu Chaoyun is at odds with his parents. His parents disapprove of her as their daughter-in-law. Gu Chaoyun despises the He's hypocrisy. Nothing brings greater satisfaction than seeing one's enemies suffer. They'll haunt each other like ghosts for the rest of their lives. Then die filled with resentment and regret. The end.